Hello friends, it's Cindy Brumbaugh from CindyLeeBDesigns.com, independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. Today I'm here with a fun fold called a double Dutch gatefold card. Looks a little complicated, but it's actually quite easy once you get the measurements down. So you can see here the beautiful green colors, and that comes from picking the palette from the designer series paper, the Garden Lane. All the pretty greens in there, the garden green, mint macaron, pear pizzazz, soft seafoam, whisper white, great accent neutral color in that designer paper. And since I was using the animals from this adorable, oh my gosh, such a cute Get Well stamp set, Back on Your Feet. It has the cute little paws. What is that? A sloth right there. Yeah, with those claws on there. The sloth. You've got the cute little giraffe and the ever cute little turtle there. So you've got some great get well sentiments in here. Sigh, ouch, this is not good. I just love that one. So that's what I did on this card. I just used my blends to color in the giraffe. I used the light soft suede and the dark daffodil delight and a little bit of the light mossy meadow for the ground there. And I just put it onto I cut it out with my stitched rectangle dies and then just layered the mint macaron and the mossy meadow. So on my other card, I'm going to use Mr. Turtle here. So I'm going to set this aside here and we're going to look at some of the pieces here. Okay, so when you're first looking at this, you're thinking this is a big sheet and you're going to be cutting and doing all that stuff, but it's actually quite simple. I had seen a couple of these Dutch folds on Pinterest and on different blogs and stuff, and I thought, oh, this is probably complicated, but actually it's made a lot less complicated by the little band that goes around and shuts on the front. So we're just going to start out with what the card base is. Okay, so a lot of pieces cut here. So your card base here, and on this one I'm using Mossy Meadow, it is going to be 9 inches, and you're going to score it at 5.5. So it's 9 inches and you score it 5.5. Now because it's going to fit into, it's going to have the belly band kind of at the bottom of the card folding around, and this is going to be, let's grab these pieces here. This piece here is 8.5 by 2 inches, and then we're just going to score it in 2 1/8. So on each side we're going to go in 2 1/8 and go in 2 1/8. So that's just your 8.5 inch piece of paper. You've cut 2 inches and then scored in at 2 1/8 and then score it again at 2 1/8. And since you need to have your paper, the cardstock from the back of the card fit into that belly band, if you make this 4 1/4, it's not going to shut. So what you're going to do is you're going to make this dimension, so remember this was 9 inches long, we're going to make this dimension 4 1/8. Now you might be on some other blogs or see other tutorials where they just shave off a 1/16 of an inch. I tried that first and then I thought, you know what, I'm just going to make it easy on myself and the rest of us and just make it 4 1/8. So instead of 4 1/4, we're just going to make this smaller at 4 1/8, and it just makes your cutting of your paper and layering so much easier if you do it that way. And then this will close very easily around a 4 1/8 inch panel inside of it. Okay, so you know what, we may as well just start putting that together. So we're going to just put some adhesive here on the bottom of the belly band. I want to grab my snail here and just come in a little bit from my scored mark there, and then we'll just put some snail on here, and then we're just going to take and put that card base with a little bit of space on each side of where it is scored. And that's essentially where your double Dutch doors are on that gatefold. And then the inside of our card, as you can see here, we have a white panel. Now since we made this measurement 4 1/8, we're going to have to do our white at 3 7/8 by 5 1/4. So here we go. But before we do that, we're going to be using the turtle here. So since I'm using the turtle, I'm going to be hope you're back on your feet soon. So we're just going to go ahead and stamp that on here before we adhere it into the inside of the card. Looks like I got a little bit of something on there. Because how many times have you put it on the inside of the card and then you went to stamp and then you messed up and had to try to pry it off of there. So we're just going to get some Memento Black there because I'm going to use that on the inside of the card. And actually, I'm going to see if this, oh, there we go. So I'm just going to, I'm actually using a block that I've had for like 20 years, and it has lines on it, so it's really nice for lining up. And I wanted to show you a trick using, it's not super straight. It could be a little bit straighter. If you don't have any etchings on your blocks, just put a piece of masking tape and use that horizon line when you're looking at the back of your stamp set, and then you'll be able to get it straight. And this is just about straight, so, you know, we're gonna deal with it. So now we're gonna put this on the inside of our card, get our snail, a couple little dabs of snail in the corners. No need to go overboard with our snail. And then you're just going to look at the card and get an 1/8 inch border around the top, bottom, and the two sides. There we go. We've got the inside of our card done. Now we're just going to do the outside of the card. Now, because we did a little bit of changing up the size here, we're going to use a little bit different of measurements, but you know, it's not hard measurements, but it's a lot easier to measure in 1/8 than getting into 16ths and stuff like that. So since this was 4 1/8, I went into 3 3/4 by 3 7/8. So when this was 4 1/8 here, if you went in 1/8 and 1/8, you go into 3 7/8 this way and 3 1/4 this way. So we're going to go ahead and put, there we go, because we're going to cover up those measurements there, so we're good. So we're going to go ahead and layer our mint macaron. The nice thing about the Garden Lane, all of the prints have all the colors in, so if you're making a lot of different cards, you have a lot to pick from. And so then now we're going to layer on the next one, and we want a nice uniform border, equal border around the whole designer paper. So we're going to make this measurement 3 by 3 5/8. And remember, on my blog for this post, you'll have all the measurements, everything that I cut and the sizes. You have the video to learn how to make the card, but you have my blog to see all the materials and all of the measurements. And you can find that by looking right under my picture on the right side. There's a search bar, and just put the name of the card, the name of the stamp set that I made the card with. And this stamp set is the Back on Your Feet. So if you put in Back on Your Feet, it's going to take you to this link. You can also put in the style or the technique I've used, and this one will be a double Dutch gatefold card. So now we've got that pretty green paper up there with the leaves, kind of jungly. Now we're going to cover these bottom gatefolds here too. Now these have a little bit of a different measurement as well, because of it being 2 inches, but 2 1/8 this way. So it's not a perfect square, so we don't have a perfect square, even though it looks like it. The mint macaron is going to be 1 7/8 by 1 3/4. So 1 7/8 by 1 3/4. And make sure you don't put it the wrong way, because see, this is the right way. When you go to do it, you'll think, oh, that doesn't fit, I cut it wrong. But you didn't cut it wrong, because it's not, it's actually a rectangle, not a square, so that all 4 sides aren't equal. So 1 7/8 by 1 3/4, and that's going to go on each side of the gatefold, the double Dutch door gatefold, and we'll put that in here and line that one up. And then our designer paper is actually going to go in also with the same amount of border, and it's going to be 1 1/2 by 1 5/8. So 1 1/2 by 1 5/8. And we're just going to pop that on to our mint macaron rectangle down there. And we'll put the other designer one on there too. Oh, I just love this paper. And it goes so beautifully with like animals and cute little things in this. So now you've got this, and even though you are a little bit smaller and these don't actually line up, because they're uniform, your eye sees it perfectly like that. It doesn't say, oh, this isn't equal. Your eye just looks and says, okay, it's a little bit shorter up here, but it goes down and both sides are the same. So there is the outside of our card with our sentiment on the inside there. Now we just have to build up the focal point on the card. And as I said on this one, and I'll have the measurements for the Mossy Meadow and the Mint Macaron on my blog post, but I just used the rectangle that fit Mr. Giraffe there. So now we want to do the turtle. So with the turtle, I went ahead and stamped him in Memento Black because I was going to use my blends to color it in. And I used the Stitch Shapes framelits, and then I just used the ascending circles that got bigger as they went up. Now we're going to need to put a little sentiment on here. And I think the great sentiment for this one would be using the sigh. Okay, so we're going to just use our Memento Black, ink up the word sigh, and then we're just going to kind of pop it right inside the circle. Sigh. Okay, so now we're going to put that onto our Mint Macaron, onto our Mossy Meadow, but we're going to give them a little bit of coloring first. I played around with the colors, and I came up with using the dark mint to be Mr. Turtle's head. So I'm just going to do, and so to all of my girls at class, when I was lecturing them about I shouldn't hear them coloring because the blends, they might be doing it too hard, which I heard from a stamping home office video. So I was just passing along the information. However, I did notice that I'm a very light colorer, and I actually, as you can hear probably in this video, you can hear my marker on the paper. So it's just the fact that when you're using blends, you really only need a very light touch. Actually, like I can touch it so light that you're probably not even hearing it now. But for the most part, you can hear it a little bit, but just always when you're using blends to protect them from being hurt, you're just using a very, very light touch. So we've got some light green on his head and on his legs. And then I decided to use the Mossy Meadow on his body. So I'm going to use the light one for his belly. So I'm going to use the light Mossy Meadow for his belly. Right around his leg. And just get his little belly. I love the fact that we have new blends out with the new in colors. I just got mine and I added them to my little collection there. We've got the Purple Posy and the Rococo Rose and the Seaside Spray and the Pretty Peacock. So I haven't used them yet. So then I'm also going to do these little squares that are on his tortoise shell here. And I'm just going to use the light Mossy Meadow. I don't think you can go wrong with any greens that you put on here. So we're just going to put that green, lighter Mossy Meadow there. Oh, right here. And then I decided to just take my dark blend, Mossy Meadow. And of course, I have to be a little careful going in these little lines on the shell. Just because they're a little bit smaller. I had considered making the squares darker and then these lighter because it would make it a lot easier not to see a mistake. But then I thought, it doesn't matter. You know, it's handmade. Don't we all say, wow, I just got this card and it's handmade? So it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, keep saying that to yourself, Cindy. Keep saying that to yourself. Okay, so here we go. Finishing up. Now let me see. Looking at Mr. Turtle as I'm done, I can see a few little white spots where I was being a little careful when I was doing my coloring. So I want to just fill in those spots. I see I missed a little tiny bit right on his little turtle toe. Oh my gosh, isn't that cute? I bet my little grand dog Lucy, if she ever saw a turtle, oh, she would have so much fun with that turtle. Okay, so there we are. We have cute little Mr. Turtle, and then we're going to adhere him to the mint macaron circle from the layering circles. I love our layering circles because of the amount of border you get. It's a very nice, it's not too big, not too small, just perfect to work with. So I put the mint macaron on the mossy meadow. There we go. And then we are going to put it here on the card. Now I did try to consider like putting some bling on here and different things, but I am finding that to mail your letters flat and not have any bumps or any issues with it, some post offices are very easy with their mailing. Other ones, you know, want you to do extra postage. So it just depends. So if you keep them flat, you're going to be good no matter what. So one trick here, because you don't want to adhere the bottom of your card here. And it's hard to not do that sometimes if you can't see. So my little trick is I always take the image that I'm going to adhere and I turn it so I can see exactly where I want it on my card. Now this one, we could bring this up here. We could just bring it here. So I think I'm going to bring it right about here. And when you have your image turned upside down, then you know where to put your dimensionals. I'm just going to put 4 of them on there. And now I know when I go to put it on here, if I had the turtle sitting the right way, then there we go. I can be pretty sure it's going to go in the right. There we go. I think that looks cute. And then you open it up. Hope you're back on your feet soon. So isn't that cute? Super simple card once you get your measurements down. And guess what? I gave you the measurements. Just go to my blog and you can see all those measurements there. And I think this is a super cute card so I'm going to have to use the sloth. I have to get him. I think I'm going to do that like ouch one because he has a little broken arm there. Sometimes that's all there is to say, and that I'm here for you. That is a perfect sentiment. You know, if you just want to say sigh or hope things get better. Great get well stamp set. Really cute. I think everybody who gets a card like this will get a chuckle out of it. So if you have any questions, you can always email me at cindyleeb@gmail.com. You can always text me, call me, 724-323-2296. I love getting pictures of cards that you guys have made. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch the video. If you're on YouTube, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. I post my blog videos on Wednesdays. That's my preferred Wednesday, and hopefully most Wednesdays you'll see one. So if you have any questions, just stop by my blog. Thanks for buzzing by, friends.